We got one tool left, I think, and that's a skew chisel. Okay, so I never really have watched a video on how to sharpen a skew chisel. So I basically took my skew chisel from D-Way. It was handleless, and I just put it on a platform. I looked at it until it matched the angle, and then I put it on I turned the lathe on, or turned the grinder on, came up, just rotated it through, kind of like I was doing a scraper, right? It basically is a scraper. And then I rotated it through on both sides. And that's how I sharpen the skew chisel. This is angled, okay? So that would, you would not be able to do this as easy on a sharpening stone or on the side of a flat stone, which I've seen people do. So this one really works well for a platform if you have that angled or that rounded shape, okay? So just set your platform up. I could tell you real quick what the angle of my platform is, just so you know. My angle is about 45 degrees there for how D-Way has his angle set up for his skew chisel. I'm not saying that that's the best angle. Brian Shavens, I think he's passed away, but he has a video on the skew chisel, and he has discussions on rounded and the angles here and the angles this way. Because you can have a skew chisel, I think these are old school, but you can have a skew chisel and you could have them straight, but have them less angled, right? Or more angled, steeper angled. And there's advantages and disadvantages to both. And then you can have the bevel be more steep or flat. You know, you could have them be more like this or more like this, and there's advantages and disadvantages of that. A lot of that goes into when I think of like wood planes on woodworking. You know, the steeper angle, if you don't want a steeper angle, doesn't pick up the wood fibers and cause them to tear out as much when you're going with the grain as a shallow angle does. So if you're really shallow, you know, how do I show that? Right, like this, I guess. If you're a really shallow angle, it picks up fibers. If you're really steep, it doesn't seem to be able to pick up the wood fibers and tear them out as easy. So there's some of what's going on there. Just food for thought. But these, I started using recently, and I actually am liking these. The D-Way one is pretty big and pretty bulky, so you can't get in the tight spots as much. So I've been grabbing these a lot, and they're straight, okay? And you could sharpen them on a platform for about a year until they get worn down. And what I've noticed, this is another advantage of handleless tools, because if this didn't have this handle, I could put this on a platform and just simply rotate, or just turn the grinder on, sharpen it this side, turn the grinder on, sharpen it this side. I cannot do that on these skew chisels, because the tool handle down here is hitting the platform and it's not allowing me to get to the grinding wheel. Okay, so I either have to take these out of the handle, which I could, and then I could use, you know, put them in a small handle like this. It's probably what I should try to do. But most of you probably don't have those handles, and you probably got handles like this. So how are you going to sharpen this? Well, you can't use the platform for that reason. And the way they sell, One Way sells a jig. It's a skew chisel jig, and I never knew why they sold it, because it's so easy for me to just take this skew chisel and just sharpen it. I've never had an issue. Well, now I know why they have that jig, and it's because the handle gets in the way. But they have that jig, and you can somehow, I guess you can put that out there and sharpen it on this thing with this jig. But you got to spend the extra money to do that, and so I don't know that that's worth it. So what I've been doing lately is you can either put the platform on, and you can come over here, maybe I show this way, and you can just eyeball it and sharpen it on the side of your the side of your sharpening stone. You can put it on the side like that, put it on the side like that, and sharpen it like that. You can also do that over here, and you can actually hold this. I don't know if this is safe, so don't trust me on that. I have done it. Comment if it's not safe, but I've held it there and held it there and sharpened it that way. That works too. So that gives you some options. Side of your stones, or you can buy the jig that does it that way and that way. Or you could take the handle off and you could simply do it on the platform. To me, that's the safest and the best method, because then you can even put the rounded. Because if you have this jig over here that they buy, you wouldn't be able to do the rounded one, I don't think. So if you wanted to put a rounded thing on there, you wouldn't be able to do it, and you can't do the rounded on the sides either. So if you want to do the rounded, you almost have to do it on the platform. And if you didn't have this handle in the way, you could just simply rotate that through and do that, okay? Now I'm going to show you, after you get the bevel sharpened, another option that you can use to keep it sharp where you don't have to come back to the grinding wheel. Well, while I'm here, I don't use these sharpeners, these diamond or CBN sharpeners very often. But the way you would do that, especially if you have a radius bevel where it's cut out like this, is you put it on the heel and then you come in and you just sharpen it like that, okay? And you could put it on the heel, most your pressure on the heel, and then you sharpen it. And you could do that with one of these credit card sharpeners, okay? You can do it that way. You can also do that with the rounded ones like D-Way has, where you can put that on there and you can sharpen that like that, okay? So that's an option. I'm going to show you the last option. Okay, so here is another option, and you can use this for your plain blades and everything else too, of course. But this is just a strop, right? And so I took a piece of suede or a piece of leather, I put it on a piece of plywood, and I glued a block in here, and that's basically just so I can sit it in here, and it's locked in on my lathe here, okay? So I could put that in there. What I have here is I've experimented. If you've watched my video on abrasive paste, making your own abrasive paste, you can put abrasive paste on this strop, and that allows you to just take a little bit to put on your chisel, your skew chisel, and you can put that on your strop, and then that allows you to use that compound as a rubbing compound, as a sharpening compound, okay? Now, you can also use normal sharpening compounds right on here, and instead of going back to the sharpening grinder, I really don't see the need, because if you have this, you could just simply, with some compound on there, you just run this across here a few times and you are good to go. Move this out of your way, you're back to sharpening, or back to turning. You turn for a little bit and you need to sharpen, you just bring that back. Couple 3 or 4 times on the strop, and you have a razor sharp cutting edge, and there is no need to go back to the CBN wheels or the grinder, slow speed grinder. So to me, this is what I'm going to be doing with my skew chisels. I really don't see myself grinding skew chisels unless I'm changing the angle, because I don't like the angle. So there you go. I hope that helps you, gives you another idea for sharpening.